Hello again, everyone, and welcome back to Reddit Aliens. I am John, and as always, thank you so much for being here. A good topic for you today. Let's do it. What's the scariest or creepiest dark folklore from your culture? Please remember to like, share, comment, hype, listen and ask for shoutouts, and subscribe. In parts of India, there's folklore about chudales, but not the jump scare kind. They're described as almost normal people who slowly drain someone's life over time. What makes it creepy is that they're often said to be created by injustice or abuse. It's less a monster story and more a quiet warning. Molovian story here. Long ago in a village pressed between forest and field, there lived an old couple whose two sons had gone to war. Seasons passed, then years, and no word came. The parents aged in waiting, and the house grew quiet except for prayers said at dusk. The younger son had left behind a wife and a small child barely old enough to walk. Each night the wife lit a candle before the icons and begged God to return her husband. Her longing was fierce, spoken aloud, spoken often. One evening, as the sun fell and the lamps were being lit, there came a knock at the door. When the parents opened it, both sons stood on the threshold just as they had been before the war. Their clothes were travel-worn, their faces pale but smiling. Joy burst through the house, tears fell, bread was broken. A feast was prepared in haste, meat, wine, and warm loaves set upon the table. Neighbors might have been called, but happiness makes people careless, and the family wished to be alone. They ate and drank late into the night. The sons spoke little of the war, only that they had come home at last. Their voices were low, their eyes too bright in the lamplight. As the youngest son's wife sat at the table with her child on her lap, the baby dropped a spoon. It rolled beneath the table and disappeared into shadow. She bent down to retrieve it, and there beneath the tablecloth she saw their feet. Not human feet, but cloven hooves, black and sharp against the earthen floor. Her breath froze in her chest. She did not cry out. She did not look up. Slowly and carefully she took the spoon, gathered her child into her arms, and rose as though nothing were amiss. "I will put the baby to sleep," she said. No one answered. She went to the pantry and locked the heavy wooden door behind her. She pressed her hand over her child's mouth and stood shaking in the dark. Then the screaming began. The voices outside were no longer human. They howled and clawed at the door, calling her name, begging, threatening. The walls shook with the sound of it. Her child whimpered and she held him tightly, praying silently, counting her breaths, waiting. The knocking grew louder, then weaker, and suddenly silence. At that moment, the first rooster crowed. When dawn came and the light crept through the cracks in the door, she opened it. The table was overturned. The lamps were cold. Her parents-in-law lay lifeless where they had sat. No wounds marked them. No blood stained the floor. And of the sons there was no sign at all. No footprints, no hooves, no shadows left behind. Only the quiet house and the morning light. From that day on, the woman never spoke a wish aloud after sunset, and she taught her child the same. And the villagers say that if you listen closely at night, you can still hear the echo of hooves beneath the table, waiting for an invitation. In Trinidad, there are a few, but the creepiest to me are La Diablesse and the Duallien still give me nerves. La Diablesse shows up late at night looking like a beautiful woman in a long dress and hat, and she's hiding a cloven hoof. If you follow her, she leads you off into the road, into the bush, and you end up lost, hurt, or worse. Elders always warned men not to follow strange women at night for a reason. The Duallien look like little children in straw hats, except they have no faces, and their feet point backwards. They cry or call your name to lure you into the forest. If you follow them, you don't come back the same, if you come back at all. Southwestern Netherlands. My parents used to talk about Jan Hoek, a man who lives underwater and will pull you in whenever you get too close to a large body of water. It was used to keep children away from water so they wouldn't fall in. In Wisconsin, USA, our big thing is ghosts, but they're usually considered to be warnings of terrible events or dangers rather than a scary thing on their own. If you're boating on the Great Lakes and you see a ghost ship, you need to head for harbor immediately because a sudden storm is coming. If you're on the shore and you see a decommissioned lighthouse, turn its light on for a moment, head inland as fast as you can because the lake is going to storm or deliver a sudden rogue wave and you need to not be there. If you see a ghost on the side of the road, turn the hell around and go a different way. The ghosts know, and they don't want us to repeat their mistakes. In Brittany, there are the lavandières de nuit, night washerwomen. They are death women, omen that appear at night at the banks of rivers and or wash places. They look like old women dressed in white and ask passers-by to help them bring clothes. If you don't put enough effort in it or do it half-heartedly, they break your arms, and if you refuse to help them, they drown you. The area I grew up in has a lot of history with pixies, including a battle between pixies and fairies where the fairies were driven out to the neighboring county. A few hundred years ago, a church was to be built in the heart of the Pixie area, and the bells would supposedly bring an end to the pixies' rule. The pixies would charm the monks, set to ring the bell to the church in an effort to prevent them being installed. The church was eventually completed, and the sound of the bells drove the pixies into one of the nearby caves. One day a year, the pixies are able to escape, and they lure the bell ringers to the cave, where the vicar must rescue them. The town still reenacts the events every year. In some parts of the Appalachian and Ozark regions, there's a rule. If you hear someone calling your name from the woods, no you don't. The not deer or hide behind doesn't just hunt you. It mimics the voices of your loved ones perfectly to lure you off the path. The scariest part isn't the monster, it's the realization that the person you're walking toward is actually standing right behind you. The Pishachini is a pale vampire who has a weird fleshy tentacle that looks like an umbilical cord that projects from his stomach and sucks the guts out of any stray, indigenous-looking people he catches in the forest. I think we call him the White Vampire. The Sea Sleeper Cells, Belgium. Just before the end of World War II, the Nazis buried weapons cache all over Europe for use by stay-behind commando units against the Allies and Russians, the so-called werewolf units. After the Nazis were defeated, the Allies, now NATO, managed to locate many of these secret caches. They were reburied, and the werewolf system was reactivated in top secret. Ex-Nazis were instructed to organize recruitment and training of new units, to be used in case of Soviet invasion of the West. In some cases, the original werewolf men were just kept in service with new masters. It was renamed Gladio. Over time, the existence of Gladio was so secret, fewer and fewer heads of state were told about it. So the Gladio system became almost independent from Allied top command. During the mid-1970s to mid-1980s, many highly trained neo-Nazi cells woke up and started a terror campaign. In Belgium, the Nivelle mass shootings were said to be Gladio anti-communist commandos. Possibly some of these sleeper cells might still be active and waiting for the right time to strike, even today. I do enjoy this topic. Again, throughout the years, I've probably read a decent amount of these or some iteration of the explanations in this video today, but it's funny to see similarities from culture to culture. Like urban legends or old wives' tales that just, kind of take on a world of their own. But there are unique ones too. So either way, it's a great learning process for me, and I enjoy it. Hope you guys do too. Have a great day. I'm a Inuk from northern Canada, and we have the story of Sedna and the creation of all sea life. The very short of it is she is a young woman who is massively betrayed by her father and a bird spirit, ends up in the ocean during a storm, summoned by the spirit. Then, while clinging to the side of her father's boat, her father cuts off her fingers as a sacrifice to the spirit, and each of her fingers fall into the ocean and become one of the major sea life that we rely on for food, like whales, seals, and walruses. It's always been so fascinating and disturbing to me because of how casually I was told about it as a kid by my elders. Dwaallichten was something my dad always warned me about, but I barely hear other people talk about it here in the Netherlands. Most people think of white wyvern when thinking of Dutch folklore. Anyways, Dwaallichten are the souls of dead people unable to pass on to the hereafter that try to lure you into danger like a body of water at night, or deep into the forest so you'll lose your way, or even toward a dangerous building. They look like bright orbs made of light. When you see a Dwaallicht, do not follow it, but also don't run, point, or whistle at it. This will anger the spirits. Just casually walk towards your home and do not leave again until morning comes. I think other cultures have folklore that resemble it as well, like what people say about the will-o-wisps, for example, seems similar. I'm in the Philippines, and this one has always creeped me out. There's these very notorious otherworldly beings called Encanto and Maligno and Lampang Lupa. The term vary in every region, and they come in different shapes and sizes. When these monsters find someone desirable, or when they fall in love with a human, they will abduct them and replace them with a banana log with a little illusion magic. That log will act sickly and then slowly die. The abductee will then be fed magic black rice, so they can never escape their world. Nothing screams scary legend or dark folklore in Podunk, northwestern Iowa, but when I was in 5th grade as a kid, a few years older than me, in an adjacent town, became an informant for the police since he got caught with drugs and the local drug gang found out, tortured him, and shot him in the head. His name was Sky Erickson, and his murder fucked my little brain up. That's when I stopped believing in dark folklore, fairy tales, and religion. It was truth blast to the face that the world could be raw. I think all our parents and teachers told us about it to keep us uninterested in drugs, but all I could think of was God isn't real. Heaven and hell exist on earth and nowhere else. Southeast of Romania by the Danube River, you can hear the river calling for a human head as a sacrifice. This happens in early spring when the river swells from the melting snows in the mountains. There are many local legends of men that disappear while they went fishing, even if they are known to be good swimmers. In other parts of the country, we have legends of magical beings that can take the form of a fish or a beautiful woman luring young fishermen to their doom. This myth exists in other cultures as well, but in the south where I'm from, most of the legends are old and tied to mythical beings related to the river spirits, and such. Der Erl-King by Johann Wolfgang von Goethe. It's not rare in that it's a very famous poem in Germany, but real, classic fairy tales, my tales about enough since most of them are kid stories. A father is riding home with his young son when the Erl-King comes out of the shadows and starts to call to the son to come with him. He offers all these wonderful things, and the child keeps telling his father. Then the Erl-King gets tired of trying to coax him and grabs him instead. The kid screams that the Erl-König has him, and his dad holds him tighter and rides faster, but the child is dead by the time he makes it home. Not really The Elves and the Shoemaker from my childhood, and English translation, Who rides so late through night and wind? It is the father with his child. He has the boy well in his arm. He holds him safely. He keeps him warm. My son, why do you hide your face in fear? Father, do you not see the Elf-King, the Erl-King, with crown and cape? My son, it is a streak of fog. You dear child, come, go with me. Very beautiful games I play with you. Many colorful flowers are on the beach. My mother has many a golden robe. My father, and do you not hear what the Erl-King quietly promises me? Be calm, stay calm, my child. Through dry leaves the wind is singing. Do you, fine boy, want to go with me? My daughters shall wait on you finely. My daughters lead the nightly dance and rock and dance and sing you to sleep. My father, and don't you see they're the Erl-King's daughters in the gloomy place? My son, I see it clearly. There shimmer the old willows so gray. I love you, your beautiful form excites me, and if you're not willing, then I will use force. My father, he's grabbing me now. The Erl-King has done me harm. The father is horrified. He swiftly rides on. He holds the moaning child in his arms, reaches the farm with great difficulty. In his arms, the child was dead. There's a folklore about a type of female ghost called Rakkt Pishachini, I think, where ghost is only visible to a particular man in the family, and she over the period of time makes him fall for her and then marries him. The scariest thing is that the more you accept her, the more obsessive and insecure she becomes, to the point where she won't even let you talk to your own mother or sister. Basically no women interaction for you. And if you disobey her, she'll kill that woman, and the obsessiveness just keeps on growing to the point where she won't let you talk to literally anyone, not even other men. And the end, her obsession of you will end up in her taking you away with her, death. Someone who I had known since I was a kid was supposedly a victim of this spirit and passed away a few years ago. My mom and nanny told me this. There's an urban legend called Don't Turn on the Lights. Two girls were roommates in college, Trish and Stacy. The two could not be less alike. Trish was a brunette, quiet, serious, studious. Stacy was blonde, outgoing, beautiful, a real party girl. Despite their differences, the two were the best of friends. One night, Stacy was getting ready for a party and Trish told her, "Don't turn on the lights." She had an exam early the next morning and would need her sleep after studying. Stacy came back in the wee hours of the morning and remembered what Trish had said, "Don't turn on the lights." So she carefully slipped into the room and then into the bathroom without turning the lights on. Then out again to collapse into bed, never letting the light touch the room. That morning, or perhaps closer to afternoon, Stacy got out of bed and went to open the curtains. Turning, she shrieked in horror, near everyone on campus being able to hear her screams. Trish's bed was drenched in blood. Her lifeless eyes stared up at the ceiling, and above the bed, written in the poor girl's blood, were the words, "Aren't you glad you didn't turn on the lights?" My parents and family and grandparents and I are southern and rural and Appalachian, and we own a forest and property and cabin and woods in the Appalachians in Virginia called Hopkins Gap. We refer to it as the Gap. It's deep in a hollow, a holler as it's referred to down there, and you have to drive down windy mountain roads to get to it. You've probably driven by and passed it if you've been anywhere in the Appalachians or Virginia or the South or rurals. It's very creepy and unnerving and eerie. There are ruins of an 1800s house that a family lived in the woods behind the cabin, and there are stillborn and dead babies buried in the yard in front of the cabin. Legend says that if you say "cry baby cry" at night or in the evening, you'll hear babies crying. I've never tried it, and I'm not going to find out, but several people have, and they noped out of there real quick and never came back. Some sketchy goes on in those areas and those mountains, and several people, including myself and our friends, have seen and heard weird shit there, usually at night. I refuse to go there alone or at night. The Dullahan. You may know of it if you've ever watched Darby O'Gill and the Little People. He's a fairy, taking the form of a headless rider or coach driver, carrying his head in his right hand. Sometimes he'll appear on a jet black horse, and the head will cry out the names of those dates to die. Other times, he will appear, stop at the Koist Botar, the headless coach. The spokes of the wheels are human bones, the lanterns on the coach are human skulls with lit candles set within them. The coach is lined with worm-eaten burial clothes, and he uses a spine as a whip to hurry his horses. He arrives at the houses of those fated to die to bring them to the next world. Anyone who sets sight upon him will be splashed with blood, marked to be visited by him next. The Banshee is one of the better-known fairies. Commonly misunderstood, she does not cause death, merely heralding it. Her wails are her crying for the soon-to-be deceased. Sometimes she's a beautiful young woman, but more commonly she is a haggard old woman in a veil, crouched beneath a tree on a hilltop, wailing within sight of the bereaved's home. Legend tells of the hero Cuchulainn met a washerwoman on the eve of his last battle. He asked her whose clothes she was washing, and she told him it was his funeral shroud. It is said if you see the Banshee washing clothes with blood on the water, you will suffer a violent death. Maine doesn't really have many scary legends or folklore associated with it. We have the standard spread of haunted hotels and bridges and a few cryptids that are just variations on Nessie and Bigfoot. We also have our fair share of ladies in white and various haunted lighthouses, but honestly, nothing that's super scary or dark, just very average stories. I suppose the Devil's Footprint in Manchester or the Witch's Foot in Bucksport might work. The first one states a man was trying to move a large boulder and loudly exclaimed he'd sell his soul to the devil if only the rock would move. The next day, the rock had moved, he couldn't be found, and a hoof print appeared on the boulder. The second says the founder of the town put a witch to death, and in her dying breath she cursed him, and for some reason that curse translated into her foot, showing up as a stain on his grave. Yeah, makes not sense to me either. There's a local legend here in East Anglia, UK, of a monstrous black dog by the name of Black Shuck. The size of a horse, jet black fur and burning red eyes. Sometimes he has just the one in the middle of his forehead. The story goes that in 1577 he attacked the churches of Bungay and Blytheburg, leaving scorch marks on the door, killing a man and a boy, and collapsing the steeple through the roof in Blytheburg, appearing later on the same day in Bungay and attacking there too. The destruction of the Blytheburg church did happen when it was struck by lightning in a storm, same with the Bungay one, but where the legend of the dog came from is unclear. What exactly they saw on that day has never been explained. In Brazil, two come to mind. The Curupira is a red-haired monster who looks like a man but whose feet are reversed. He attracts and eats hunters who got lost in the woods and followed his reverse footsteps. The good part is that you can always bribe him with some tobacco, and he'll leave you alone to find your way back. Now the darkest story, at least for me, is that of the Boto. The Boto is a truly existing pink riverine dolphin from the Amazon. It's very common to have families living in extremely secluded houses in the middle of the rainforest there. They can reach some small trading outfit in 3 or 4 days by boat, but seldom venture out of their own neck of the woods. When a young lady shows up pregnant in such circumstances, It is said that she was impregnated by the Boto. Spoiler alert, it's not true. She's a victim of domestic R, perpetrated by a male relative. Black Forest, Germany. I've tried talking to family and strangers. Literally everyone avoids talking about it. The interesting thing is, people always tell you to get out before it gets dark. The reason? Your phone won't have signal, compass stops working, you start to hear voices of people you know or knew. The forest tries to lure you deep, lure you off the path until you're never heard from again. There's a few missing person cases as well. Apparently there was a guy who was found dead, naked, unconfirmed death, but his clothes were neatly stacked near his body. There are more cold cases out there. Der Schwarzermann, the man in black, the black man. Basically a man dressed completely in black with no face. Parents here in Germany told and still do this story. Kids that go too far into the woods, misbehave, or don't go home when it gets dark get kidnapped by the man in black. Rammstein had the lyrics. I forgot which song. Der Schwarzermann and werde dich holen, which translates to the black man, he will come to get you. There are numerous cold cases with children. Most of the children's bodies were never found, but it wasn't just children. 2 couples and a little boy were found, but the bodies showed extreme violence. In Australia, the indigenous people have many cryptids or dark folklore that I'm not an expert on, but the 2 most well-known in Australia, but would be rarely talked about elsewhere, would be the bunyip and the yowie. The yowie is basically the Australian version of Bigfoot, standing between 2 and 3.5 meters tall, and is often described as being violent or aggressive and capable of stalking people. The bunyip is very ambiguous in its presentation, ranging from a hulking, shaggy beast to a reptilian monstrosity that lives at the bottom of the billabongs, creeks, swamps, and rivers. It has an incredibly loud, fearsome roar and preys on people that get too close to its watering hole.